Good morning, fellow travelers. Today is Saturday, December 10th, 2022, and we are in the Marketplace Cafe for our breakfast on our final day at sea, on our way back to Fort Lauderdale from Aruba and Curacao. What a great, fantastic trip this has been. The ship is beautiful, our cabin was comfortable, the entertainment was amazing. We're going to be sad to leave this cruise. We will look forward to more in the future. Talk to you later.
Well, welcome to Captain's Corner. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, there you go. That's more like it. What a great morning. But it will be better if we welcome actually the host, the man, our very own Captain Bear. Put your hands together for him.
And very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoyed your cruise so far?
Yes.
That's great to hear. So we're gonna do a film. We have a film showing you a little bit in the public areas and then taking you down to the crew areas. Does that sound good? Yeah? But I think we should start by us telling a little bit about ourselves. Why don't you start, Anna?
Okay. Why not? Thank you, Captain. So I'm Anna, I'm the cruise director all the way from Portugal, born and raised and still live there in a very small town. I have 8 horses, 2 dogs, 1 daughter that just graduated back in July university. She will be becoming a deck cadet very soon, so very proud of that. Thank you. Thank you very much. And as a cruise director, I started the company a bit different from everybody else. I started as a sports staff. Has anyone done the iFly, the North Star, the Flow Rider, all those activities? Yes, there you go. I started in the Mariner of the Seas as a sports staff, and the captain at that time was Captain Bear. Eventually, I got promoted to supervisor, to sports manager, and I had the chance to be a compliance officer and an injury prevention officer for 2 years on the Oasis of the Seas, and my boss was, yeah, Captain Bear. Yeah, I know. Then eventually I went back to entertainment, to the sports manager position, and got the great opportunity to do the takeout of this ship, the Odyssey of the Seas, and who was here? And then got promoted to cruise director, and here we are. Captain, you cannot get rid of me, I'm so sorry. How about you?
It's always a pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
Me, I don't have horses, I don't have dogs, but I have 3 kids, 2 exes, and now just when I go on vacation, I go a little bit up to Canada, a little bit to Norway, a little bit to Florida, wherever I want to go at the time. But I've been living different places. I've been living 5 years in San Francisco, 7 years in Miami, 1 year in France, half a year in Germany, and yeah, now I'm living everywhere. And I'm from Norway, a little town called Haugesund between Bergen and Stavanger. Started my career quite young, as I wanted to go out and see the world, and didn't have money to do so, so I signed on a ship instead, and went on cargo ships for 3 years, enjoyed the lifestyle, continued going to school, get my second officer certificate, then went into the Norwegian Navy Academy, and then worked 9 years in the Norwegian Coast Guard. During that time, they also paid me to go back to get my unlimited master license. In 1991, I was sitting out in the North Sea, 30, 40 feet waves, together with 20 other guys, and thinking there must be something better to life than this. So cruise sounded great. So I joined Royal Caribbean International in 1991 as first officer, worked my way up to chief officer. During my time as chief officer, I had the pleasure of living in France during the building of Rhapsody, the ship you just saw in front of us in Curacao. So I know all the welding and everything on that ship because I inspected it. And then I continued on the Rhapsody, became staff captain. Then they called me into Miami, so I got to see the operation from that side. They got to know me a little bit better. They sent me to a psychiatrist over in Sweden to check if they could promote me to captain. I'm very glad that I passed that test. if I hadn't passed that test, I would apply for Anna's job.
I didn't fail it yet.
Oh. And then in 2003 I became captain. My first ship was the Majesty of the Seas, was there for 3 years. Then 6 years on the Mariner of the Seas, got to sail around half the world on her. Then went to the Liberty of the Seas, 3.5 years, 4.5 years on the Oasis of the Seas. Then back to Majesty, got to see Cuba, as we went to Cuba at that time. Got a bad habit of smoking cigars, but seeing Cuba, it was worth it. And they told me a fascinating story about how they make the cigars, about the leg and so on. And that's why I started. No, anyway. So then after Majesty, I was sent to Germany during the pandemic. And we, together with the new building team, we took out Odyssey of the Seas. Odyssey of the Seas is built in a place where you wouldn't believe they build ships. It's far inland, and there is only a tiny little river going out. To get the ship out in the open ocean, you have to have everything perfect, not too much wind, the right level of the water in the river. There cannot be bird nesting as we're pushing water up on the banks of the river. We had a clearance of 2 to 3 feet below the waters, below the keel. Up in the air, we took down the funnels. They are retractable. And then after we have taken them down, we had a 2 to 3 feet clearance for the electrical cables. There were 7 pilots taking her carefully out down this river, only 2 knots all the way. And we got her safely out. We inspected the bottom, we hadn't hit anything. Then we went in the North Sea, did a lot of tests, full ahead, full astern, and hard over with full speed to see how much she was listing. Good thing you were not here eating soup, because it would be in your laps. And after doing all these tests, we took over the ship in April of 2021. Very special takeover, because normally we have all the dignitaries coming from all over the world, a lot of champagne and so on, and celebrating. Now everything happened on FaceTime. We were filming it. It was the yard delivering it to Mr. Fane, Fane delivering the ship to me. After the ceremony, and they stopped sending to FaceTime, everybody stood up, and everybody was beautifully dressed above with the ties and the suits, and then they had shorts. Was it something good with those days? Anyway, so I told them, as I told you, normally it's a lot of champagne. Nobody came, but we had the champagne, we celebrated by ourselves. Then we took the ship down to Israel, where we were going to start cruising. Couldn't find a vaccination for all the crew members in Europe. So what we did, we full speed over to Port Canaveral, got all the crew members vaccinated. Now we are vaccinated, boosted, and now we have the flu vaccines as well. And then we started cruising out of Fort Lauderdale in July of 2021. Did the same cruises as we do now. Then after that season, we went over to Europe in April, had a great season over there where we went to Mykonos and Santorini and all these romantic places, and Holy Land, yes. So that was a little bit about the journey getting here. Then Odyssey of the Seas, one of the most modern ships in the fleet, or she is the most technically advanced ship in the fleet. We have one ship that is newer, that's Wonder of the Seas. She's a little bit larger and a little bit, newer. But Odyssey of the Seas, definitely one of the newest ships in the fleet with some of the most amazing amenities. Have you tried the specialty restaurants? Yeah? Wow. I loved the Wonderland. I become like a kid and trying all that different stuff there. And the seaplex, I saw a lot of you bumping into each other, yeah, with a great pleasure. But my favorite thing on this ship is definitely the iFly. With my weight, going in the iFly, I get the best facial massage anybody can dream of, yeah. So instead of me standing talking, during the takeout of the ship, we had people with drones. They were flying drones inside above our heads and so on, and did some fantastic film shoots. So we're going to show you those. Then I would like to take you down behind the scene and show you a little bit from that area. So could we run the film, please? The first you're going to see is from the naming ceremony.
This ship, Odyssey of the Seas. May God bless her and all who sail on her.
Erica Brown from Bahamas, our godmother, Olympic champion in Paralympics. Now we are at the, you see in the layout of the bridge in the back you have the command center with the command pod, the incident pod, the evacuation pod. This is in the front of the bridge, one of our quartermasters. At all time there is a first officer, second officer, quartermaster on the bridge, and then we add manning depending on the conditions.
So I'm going to start from your right to the left. Over there I have a musical director, Rob, Nick, our 270 dance captain, and Brian, our technical director of entertainment. So I'm going to ask them a few questions. Gentlemen, where are you from and what's your job on board? What do you do specifically?
Well, I grew up in Michigan and found myself in Chicago for 10 years and then New York before coming here. And my job on board, well, I schedule the live music programs, so all the bands that you see playing. I decide in conjunction with Anna when and where they will be performing. And just sort of on an HR level also manage you know, personal things, things that they do on the ship, sort of their crew life.
Thank you very much, Rob. Welcome. Nick, how about you?
Hello everyone, like Anna said, my name is Nick. I'm the 270 dance captain for the cast of the book. I'm from Orlando, Florida. I am the cast direct supervisor, along with giving them their schedule, facilitating rehearsals, reblocks if we're in them. A big part of my job, excuse me, is to maintain the artistic integrity of the show, the booking, making sure that it looks the best for the audience views.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Nick. And Brian, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your job.
I was born and raised in Chicago, but now have the pleasure to live in Honolulu, Hawaii. So yeah, I live in Hawaii and work in the Caribbean. I like my life. What I do on the ship, I am the technical director of entertainment, which basically means I oversee all live performance on the ship. All of the technical gear that supports the live performance, I make sure the actors are safe. I work with the dance captains to make sure that their cast is being taken care of. I work with all of the stage technicians to make sure they are well trained and able to do their jobs, and that all the equipment will support what they need to do.
Thank you and welcome, Brian. As you see, entertainment is almost 200 people, and I could not do anything alone. As a division head, I work alongside these people, not only them, many, many more, to make sure that we provide with the best entertainment for you. Quick question for you, Rob. How do you become a musician on board? Talk us through the process of hiring, please.
Sure. Well, it starts with, well, back in my day, it was an audition over the phone. And now, obviously, it's Zoom or WhatsApp or whatever they're using. But for orchestra, it's heavily sight reading. That the audition is heavily based in sight reading. So you'll be sent, I don't know, 3 or 4 selections and a backing track, and you just have to read it down, because that's a lot of what the orchestra job is. Sometimes we have a headliner come in, and we have an hour with them, and then the show is later that night. So it's very, they just arrive, we do it. With the other bands that come as bands, like for example our wonderful Caribbean band Harmonies, they come as a group, they sort of audition as a group, so it's a little different, but that's basically the process.
Absolutely. Have you enjoyed Finest Henderson on day 1 and day 4, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes.
Wasn't he incredible? Just as Rob mentioned, Finest came on board with you folks, and they had 1 hour to practice his entire show, and that's an incredible show. So if the musicians were not good at reading music, none of this would be possible, right? So great job, Rob. How about you, Nick? How do you become a dancer? How do you go through the auditioning process? Because I know it's very lengthy and complicated. Share with us. We had a gentleman over there. He was asking me questions, and I invited him to stay. So he wanted to know.
Awesome. Yeah, so the company auditions all over the world, all over the States, Australia, Mexico, the UK, all throughout the year. You can also submit online if you want to submit to the company. Basically how it works for dancers is it's an open call, so the company will set out a date, a time, in a specific city. There can be anywhere from 50 dancers to 600 dancers lined up around the block waiting to audition. And you go in and there's a series of rounds. Usually you would do a technique round first to show your technique, and then they would make a cut. And then from there, depending on what the casting is looking for specifically at that audition, it could be contemporary, it could be jazz, it could be hip hop. As you've seen the book compared to the Showgirl show, they're very different in style. So this show, they would be casting more contemporary dancers, whereas in the Showgirl show, they would be casting more jazz commercial dancers. So depending on what they need at the time and what they're looking at the time, would be more the specific genre that the company would be casting at that time. Once you make it all the way to the end with cruise ships, you're not guaranteed a job right away. As our company has 20-something ships with over 100 shows, they're casting all throughout the year. So you can receive a contract a week later, or you could receive a contract 6 months later. Just again, depends on what the casting needs at that time.
Thank you, and haven't they done an incredible job? Haven't they? Both casts here and over that side. And as you said, we do go around the world, and these performers have an incredible curriculum. They are not only incredible dancers, but they're real life athletes, so they do a great job. How about you, Brian? How do you become, not a technical director, there's a long way to become a technical director, but how do you become a technician on board, a stage staff per se, let's say? How's the process?
Yeah, education helps. If you are a theater person, have a theater degree, that's a great start. The truth is, one of the fun things about being on the cutting edge of entertainment technology is there is no school on the planet that can train you to do what we do. So we hire you and then we train you, because that's kind of what we have to do. No schools can afford the kinds of equipment we work with on a day-to-day basis. But the degree helps. If you had some theater background and you've studied some in any particular field, sound, lighting, video media, that's a good start, and then we'll build you up from there.
Perfect, thank you. In fact, we're doing a big hiring process now in Las Vegas. So if you're interested for them, because as you mentioned, it's really, really different venues that we have here. $7.5 million just for the robots. And I normally say this in our 270 experience, but Keyshawn, our production manager, he's specialized in this venue. There's only 6 or 7 people in the world that can be managing this venue, so it is complicated. Rob, quick question for you. Talk us through your day. How does your day look like? You only play? Do you have any paperwork to do, like me?
Well, the first thing I do when I wake up is double check the app and the compass. So I just go through the schedule, then I make sure that everyone has put in their hours from the day before. And yeah, lots of paperwork, probably not nearly the amount that Anna has to deal with, but some paperwork. And I still practice a lot. I try to practice about 4 hours a day minimum. So if I don't get that in, I become very grouchy. So that's very important for me. And then I take a break in the middle of the day, usually an hour or two, and study. I like to study computer programming and chess. Those are my things. And then in the evening, we perform. I perform with the orchestra, and then I try to do walk-arounds to make sure that the live music program is running smoothly, and that all my musicians are happy, that the guests are happy with what's happening, and receive some feedback as well.
Thank you. How about you, Nick? How does your day look like?
So for instance, today I have this talk with you all. That's my first thing to do today. I will check my emails as well. Definitely do not have nearly as many as anyone up here, but definitely check those emails. After this, I'll head to lunch. My mom is on board this cruise, so I'm gonna have lunch with her. Very excited for that. After that, I'll probably head to the gym. We like to maintain our bodies as performers. And then I don't have anything until the show. I'll come back here about an hour and a half before the show, do all my presets, all my flying checks, preset my costumes, do a nice warm-up, and then we'll do the show for the guests.
Thank you. He forgot he has a meeting with me at noon.
Yeah, I got that too.
Just saying. We have our weekly meeting today at noon. How about you, Brian? How does your day look like, since you're in charge of the entire technical aspects of entertainment?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell you what an average day is because I haven't had one yet. Working on that. But
an average day.
Yeah.
We don't have average days here.
I often start my day by answering the phone. Yes, Anna, what can I do for you today?
In the morning.
Yeah, I very often do. I joke, but I do often start my day with a phone call from somebody somewhere. Because a huge part of my job is just reacting. What's happening on the ship, what's happening in the world, and how do I react to it? So those calls sometimes come from shoreside. Nick mentioned a very important word for us. Show integrity is critical, and it's a huge part of my job. So if something happened the night before that shoreside doesn't like because they watched the video or they read the report, usually I'm the first phone call in the morning when they get to work. They say, hey Brian, why did that happen? And I get to explain it.
Better you than me.
So the first part of my day is usually a lot of that. Emails, of course, is some of the reactions as well, but also phone calls and kind of sorting those things out. The rest of the day is usually working with the cast, whatever rehearsals are happening, whatever technical rehearsals. If anything is being repaired or maintained, I'll work with the crews to make sure that that's getting done. Coordinating vendors, coordinating purchasing, all that kind of stuff. The best part of the day is the evening because show integrity. That means I have to watch all the shows.
What a terrible job, huh?
It's a terrible job. I can't stand it. No, I mean, honestly, that is my favorite part of the job. I love going to all the shows. I love watching it. I love looking for those little details. Oh, that person has great energy tonight. Oh, that person's looking a little ragged. Maybe I need to talk to them after the show and see how they're feeling. But also the technical things. What didn't work? Why didn't it work? What can we do to fix it? Making sure that everything is top notch every day.
Perfect, thank you. My day starts at 7:30, finishes at 1 a.m. We'll leave it at that. So it's a long day, but we all do what we love.
have fun?